Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and more Wilds. Today it's time to talk about Switch X and the final update for base Wilds, because once again I assembled Arkveld to spread the joy of super efficient pieces that let us fit things like convert element into your builds, or the new Nadia armor that's been surprisingly useful to grab the 2 set bonus of gore. Not to mention things like the 3 levels of weakness exploit you can get on a crafted talisman now. So today we're going to have sort of 2 main sets to consider, as well as an element focus set, which could be very useful for GOG Phase 3 specifically. And of course, your usual no RNG set. So, no Gogma active skill requiring stuff or RNG talisman needed. So it's a very strong starting point for the weapon there. Before we begin though, as always, thank you and credit to Josh for putting together the sets, doing the math to back it up, to show what we're looking at today, and the original source of the data mine for what's possible for the RNG talismans, DTL Nor. So with that said, let's begin. Let's start with the weapon setup. As a reminder for your offensive decorations, same as before, you get the 5 levels of crit boost, and then we go enhancer, so power prolonger to stay in the amp state longer, and a bonus level of an element attack, whatever element you're using. So I've got a dragon weapon here, dragon attack. For the GOG setup, on average you're going to be looking at the gore magala tyranny active skill and Lord Soul. And for the reinforcements, as before, there's 3 attack boost and 2 sharpness. 2 of the sharpness want to be EX, 2 of the attack boost want to be EX, and the final attack boost is level 3. And in regards to sort of the base of the weapon, it's an attack focus, so you got the power vials. And while you absolutely could stick something in the craft for just like a status, paralysis, there is a lot of value, it's still very much worth it to element match. So like this, having a dragon weapon for when you're dealing with Gorg or Arkveld or whatever dragon weak monster, and swapping to a fire one for a fire weak monster. That's obviously more effort than just having one weapon that does everything, obviously, but it is worth having as before. Right, let's take a look at the builds, starting with the max DPS Dragon focused build. That is essentially a raw build, but it has that little bonus of dragon on it, as we just explained. So for this setup, we're going to use the new Gamma Arkveld helmet and chest piece, the new Nadia gloves, the familiar Gamma waist for Ray Dow, and then the Ray boots in Alpha specifically. For your RNG talisman, you want to use an attack boost talisman, 3 levels of it, then with the offensive decoration for the 4th level for the percent increase. And then you have a secondary skill that you'd normally decorate for. So for us right now, that's going to be 1 level of weakness exploit or 1 level of latent power, and you decorate the one that you're missing. It's very important though with this setup that it has 2 bonus 1 slots on it so that you can fit antivirus in the build. That is vital. So if you don't have those 2 1 slots, you'd have to make a bit of a build change, such as swapping the Ray boots from Alpha to Beta. This would then mean your latent power drops to level 3, but then you'd be able to fit 3 levels of antivirus. But anyway, the point is the skill list, so try to replicate that. Here's the decorations I use to achieve the skill list. So there's the first page for you to look at. Here's the second page. You can see we've got the Ray Dow set, the Gore set, very nice, the Arkveld set for a bit of healing, and of course Guts Tenacity, even without the help of your weapon. So this set beats the previous max DPS set and also gains a lot of perks, like the big dragon splashes, an element you get from Convert Element. Convert Element, as a reminder, basically you take some element damage and then you get this juiced period of extra dragon elements specifically, and like a status build up for these dragon bursts that hit really hard. So for any dragon setup, this is really good. You can actually trigger Convert Element while you're doing hyper armor attacks, so for us, that's as well full release. And the bonus healing of the Arc 2 piece, and the fact that we get to maintain the Ray 2 set to have latent power last longer, all of it's super good. So if you like the sound of that, but you just don't have the RNG talisman set up, there is a crafted option. Thanks to the new update, we have the new weakness exploit talisman, exploiter charm level 3, so 3 levels there. So you'd equip this and then swap the equipment around. So in that case, you'd use the Nadia helm, the Gamma Arkveld chest still. You go for the Ray Dow Beta gloves, keep the Gamma waist, and then change the boots for Zoshia Alpha. You need to redecorate to get your latent power all the way up to level 5, and make sure you have level 3 antivirus, but that'd be the alternative sort of setup. Anyway, with those variations explained, here's the math for the best version of the set. 248 base raw, multiplied and increased from these sources, and after white sharpness, you get to 404.39. Then we have the 96% reliable affinity, which by the way, technically you might overcap, but it's very rare that'll happen. And with 5 crit boost, the value is huge there. So that gets us to 560 effective raw. With this setup, you can actually make an argument that this is the best set no matter which element is actually on your weapon. Sure, if you're using a fire weapon against a fire weak enemy, you're not benefiting from the 180 dragon injection of non-dragon element weapons. But you will still get the dragon damage pops, and they're really good. But obviously, that's only if you are maximizing convert elements uptime when it procs. So if not, and also to be fair, if you don't like latent power, here's the second set. So you equip this if you're running like fire, water, thunder, or ice. This set, as I just mentioned, then also has a lack of latent power. Latent power causes that nice power spike while it's up, but you do feel a lack of it while it's on cooldown. Over a longer fight, latent power's value just increases, and with GOG and the current 10-star hunts, they're longer on average in this final update. But if you're wasting the time that latent power's up by not being active and landing your hits, then this set doesn't use latent power, it has more consistency in that way, so this might appeal to more people. For this set then we use the Arkveld Gamma helmet, the new Udra Gamma chest piece, the Guardian Rathalos gloves in beta, and the Guardian Rathalos waist in alpha. And lastly, the new Nadia boots for the final slot. For the talisman, similar concept but more specific. You want the 3 attack boost with the final level in the offensive decoration slot, and then the bonus skill we have burst. Importantly, we have these 2 1 slots on the talisman so that we can actually fit antivirus in the build. That's really important. The goal then is to use these decorations to achieve this skill list. So there's the first page for you. Here's the second page. We achieve Scorcher with this, and of course the Gore 2 set, and Guts Tenacity. So with this set, you will have the Rathalos 2-piece for Scorcher. This means just these bursts of fire damage throughout the hunt, which really stacks up. Technically, we could rework the set to drop Scorcher and instead get something like 5 Agitator, but since we feel Scorcher is very competitive and kind of better for a non-speedrunner especially, that's why we go this way. And if you don't have this ideal awkward talisman, then your alternative would be to use the crafted one for 3 Agitator, and then you make sure to decorate the set to have 5 Agitator, and you can even fit 1 Flare in too. Anyway, here's the math just to talk about it. 248 base raw again, multiplied and added from these sources, and after white sharpness, we get to 417.59. We have 77% reliable affinity, and 5 crit boost still, so that brings you to a very respectable 546. So you'll note that that has less effective raw than the dragon version, and you don't have the dragon bursts from convert element. But you do get Scorcher as I said, you're not dealing with latent power which might appeal to you, so between the two, we wanted to give you that choice. Next up then, we just want to highlight a setup for Element Vial specifically. The idea behind this is so you have a switch axe for GOG in phase 3 specifically, because his hit zones are so good there that it's a nice idea to have a special set and a weapon for that phase so you can really dunk on him in that moment. The 2 builds we just covered are going to be better by far for like everything else, but if you want to do this, it is something we want to highlight. So for the weapon, it'd be the same setup as we were looking at in the past. So you've got an element focus in the craft instead of an attack focus. So you've got element vials instead of power. The active skills, Gore and Lord Soul. And your reinforcement setup will be 2 sharpness and 3 element boost. 2 of those element boosts are EX and 1 is level 2. Basically, this gets you to this starting point of 205 base raw and 530 element. For the equipment setup then, we have the Gamma Arkveld helmet, the Gamma New Udra chest piece, the GOG gloves in alpha, the Gore beta waist, and the GOG boots in alpha specifically. Then we get into the talisman and which offensive decorations you'll have based on that. So ideally, we'll have a talisman that gives us 3 attack boost, and the final attack boost is the offensive decoration slot for the percent bonus. And then you don't actually need the extra 2 1 slots, though they are handy. Then we have a bonus skill of relevance. In this case, it's burst. So in this case, for your offensive decorations, it'd be for our dragon weapon, the dragon element attack, and then a bonus skill of relevance. Ideally crit element, but I don't have that for a dragon decoration, so I've just got focus as an alternative. As an alternative talisman option though, you could go for Power Prolonger 3. If you're doing that, you would need to change your offensive decorations though. In that case, we want crit boost 3 still, Ellie attack 3 still, and then crit element 3 for the 3rd slot. But anyway, with the ideal setup and set, we use these decorations to achieve this skill list. So there's the first page for you. Here's the second page. We've got the 2 set of Gore, 2 set of GOG, and Guts Tenacity from all the Gamma pieces. But yeah, don't forget, the whole point of this set is for GOG in that phase 3 where, you know, the element hit zones are so good. So you make this as a quick swap for that final part if you're really trying to min-max. For the mass of this then, we have 205 base raw, Multiplied and added to from these sources, after white sharpness, we get to 348.81. We have 85% reliable affinity, 5 crit boost in the ideal setup, so that brings you to 468 effective roll. Then, on the element side of things, we have 530 base element, multiplied and added to from these sources, which gets you just under cap at 1132.16. So we'll deblow that to get the true element, multiply that by white sharpness, which is 15% for element, and that gets you to 130 effective element on your weapon hits. So for a GOG killing setup for phase 3, that is your option. Last up then, we have the no RNG set. This goes back to the kind of raw focus as the first two sets, but works as an important starting point. Like if you're interested in switch axe and don't have like a ideal Gogma setup or an RNG talisman or whatever. The point is you can craft everything here and then you have a strong starting point to build up from if you want to try the weapon and then later progress. So for this set then we have the Gamma Arkveld helmet, the Gamma chest piece from new Udra, the Gamma gloves from Arkveld, the gore waist in beta, and the new Nadia boots for the final slot. The talisman, the crafted one, will be the 3 levels of agitator. And then yeah, use these decorations to achieve this skill list. So there's the first page, here's the second page. You won't need a Gogma sort of special active skill setup, so you will have the Black Eclipse. And you'll also have Arkveld's Hunger for the healing that provides. Plus we'll also have Lord's Soul without help from the weapon. So a very solid starting point. Let's look at the math just to show that. 248 base roll, multiplied and added to with these sources, and after white sharpness we get to 403.06. We'll have 80% reliable affinity, and 5 crit boost still, so that brings us to 532 effective roll. So as you can see, that's 14 less effective roll than say the 4 element set, which is pretty fantastic for a no RNG starting point. Then again, you can progress from here if you want to, if you fall in love with the weapon or whatever. But yeah, there you have it. That's our final update for Switch Axe with Wilds' final update to the base game. I am hopeful for the weapon and the expansion to kind of get what it needs based on a lot of the feedback, and we started to see the right changes in Title Update 4. In my opinion, I'd love to see a greater focus even now on sword combos, axe attacks, and kind of the fun of the morph loot gameplay, the attacks in between. I hope there's also a return to zero sum discharge attaching, some relevance to that. I've always really enjoyed that. And obviously, anything new and cool in the expansion will be welcome. Some variety in the weapons gameplay loop, that's what I'm looking for. Until next time then, I've been Hollow, you've been you, and thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.